My name is Amanda Neidig, and the TED Talk I watched was A Glimpse of the Future Through an Augmented Reality. The speaker of the TED Talk was Maren Gribetz. Maren Gribetz is the founder and CEO of Meta. Meta is a company that produces augmented reality glasses to bring the future of technology today, or as Maren will go to explain, bringing more of a neuroscience approach to technology. He is a leading effort to produce and sell augmented reality glasses. He studied computer science and neuroscience at Columbia University, and he was named to the Forbes 30 Under 30 list in technology. The first thing he started off his TED Talk was by saying today's computers are so amazing that they are terrible. And he said this because he had a terrible experience with technology. When he was having a conversation with a fellow student while at Columbia University, he was talking to him, and during the conversation, the fellow student pulled out his phone and started looking at an email he got. While he was in the middle of the email, he looked up at Gribetz and assured him that he was still listening and engaged in the conversation. Maren began to explain that he knew the very second that he pulled the phone out that the engagement was lost and that he was no longer retaining what he was saying. And this made him feel sad and like he was just being cut out, like no issue. At the table next to them, there was a bunch of kids huddled around laughing at pictures on a phone. And as he watched the kid scroll through Instagram pictures and it brought joy and enlightenment to everybody around, he saw how in his situation it was making him sad and how in their situation it was making him happy and the differences between the two. And he said that technology can be amazing if it's used correctly, and he explained it as it's a tool that should be used to extend our bodies. And he said this is like telling stories around our campfire. Now, a campfire is the tool, and we use these stories to engage everyone and enjoy it. And this is why he brings about the Meta 2, to take that cell phone to a whole new level, where you still have it in front of you and you can still see text and emails and all of that, but you're also still engaged with your audience, with whoever you're with. The Meta 2 is an augmented reality glasses headset, as pictured on Maren's head in the picture. And it brings realistic holograms right in front of you. There are many uses to the Meta 2, a lot of them being social uses. But before I go into explaining the social uses, as you could see on the slide before this, the headset pictured on Gribetz was very bulky and unattractive, and many people probably don't see how anyone would want to go out in public wearing this. It just kind of look out of the ordinary. Gribetz explained in the TED Talk that eventually what this is going to be is a frame with a thin piece of glass over the eyes, so it'll just look like normal seeing eyeglasses. The social uses for the Meta 2 has very similar to that of a smartphone. In the picture to the right is notes, so you can go in and you can bring up a notepad and you can keep notes. I know iPhones have that, similar to reminders and stuff like that. Also, there is texting, there's email, which he showed in the TED Talk, where you can bring it in front of you, you can write your email, and the whole time, as you can see in the picture as well, you can still see the audience or whatever's behind you, so you're never losing the engagement with the audience. And after he was done looking at the email, to get it out of his line of view, all he did was grabbed it and dragged it to the corner of the headset, the corner of his vision. And it was still there, but now he had full attention on the audience. Another thing he showed was the hologram phone call. And similar to FaceTime, except it brings more personal use to it. And he called his friend, and a hologram of his friend showed up, and you could see it, a 3D picture, instead of the normal 2D effect of a FaceTime. There are also many professional uses to this. The one he explained was his mom is an architect, and as seen in the top right picture, that is a view he used in his TED Talk. And what it is the actual building. So they take it from a 2D blueprint to a 3D hologram, allowing people to interact, move around the building, switch views, and even interact with it. That leads me to the next one, interior design. The little buildings and rooms you can see in the hologram can be taken out and maneuvered with inside to add interior designs to it. Also, in the bottom left picture, neuroscience studies. That right there is a professor from UCSF, and he was part of a study to see how the Meta 2 can be used in classrooms. Gribbets explained how neuroscience is a lot of memorization, a lot of studying of the brain and trying to know the different parts. And what Meta 2 can do is bring the brain to life without using an actual brain. So the hologram, what you can do is you can move it around with your hands, you can zoom in on it, go see the different layers, interact with it, and it allows a more hands-on attempt to studying and analyzing the brain. Personally, I feel like the Meta 2 is a great idea. I also see how Gribbets felt when he was with his student, how people are always on their phones. Wherever you look, whether you're in class, you're going to class, you're in the store, or one of the biggest ones I see nowadays is if you go to a concert, all you see is people taking pictures and videos on their phone. They're not really enjoying the concert. So I feel that the Meta 2 will bring a more social aspect to society. It will allow people to still have their phones handy, which would be in the glasses, but also be more engaged with the people around them. And a less need to be staring at your phone all day because it'll just pop up and you can interactively message back or view the email or whatever it is. And what he showed us in the video was when he pulled an email up in the glasses, he could still see the audience in the background, so he never loses full vision of them, which you do when you look at a real phone. And when he wanted to see more and see them completely, all you have to do is slide it to the top of your vision and it'll go off to the side. It'll still be there, but now it's just clear glass and you can see right to the audience. Also, it'll allow people to be more engaged in conversations. They're not worried about checking their phone constantly, so they'll talk more and they'll be able to understand what people are saying and engage in them. Also, it will make phone calls more personal. I know now that Apple has FaceTime and there's Skype, it's a big hit. Being able to video FaceTime and not just talk on the phone, but being able to see the person in front of you and interact with them. But now this takes interaction to a whole new level because, like I said before, it takes a 2D and it makes it 3D. So you can actually see the person and it's almost like they're standing right there in front of you. There's 3 questions that I found from after watching this TED Talk. And the first one was, will cost be an issue to bring this to market to everyday citizens? Now, what I mean like that, a lot of people can just go out and buy a new laptop, or they can buy a new smartphone. May not be the top of the line, but most people can just go out and buy it. But with the Meta 2, is it going to be too expensive for most people just to go out and buy it? For example, is it going to be a couple $1,000s, a couple $100s? The second question was, how does this compare to the already invented Google Glass? A couple years ago, Google started working on this where they took that very, very similar design, had a frame with glass on the front, and there's a computer inside the glasses. Being able to analyze stuff around you and rewatch it over. One of the big things from Google Glass was athletes would be able to, whether it's a football player, they can analyze their play over and over again because it's recording in the corner of their glasses. So what does the Meta 2 do that differs from the Google Glass? Also, my final point was, will the Meta 2 and the future of Meta headsets be substitutes and slowly replace phone and computer systems? I know that Gribbets mentioned at the end of his TED Talk by TED 2017 most of the administration, including himself and other executives at Meta, plan to replace their computer systems with more natural machines similar to the Meta, and making technology more neuroscience involved. So does this mean 15, 20 years from now, most people will have these headsets instead of having phones, computers, laptops, etc.? The following are my works cited, both from TED. The first one is the actual TED Talk, and the second is a biography of my speaker.